Hello, family and friends. Welcome in. No one asked us. Logan is happy to be here today. I don't know why. It's a Monday. But here we are. Another episode of No One Asked Us. I'm Craig. That is Logan. Thank you for joining. And as always, episode 82 of our show. Thanks for joining for the previous 81. Follow us on social media at No One Asked Us Pod, on Twitter at Craig W. Choate, at the Logan Lee, Facebook at No One Asked Us, Instagram at No One Asked Us Pod. Hit us up on Gmail. All of this on the screen in front of you on YouTube or in the description wherever you are listening. While you're here, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Like and subscribe. Not hard. Takes 2 clicks. Like and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. And then share this with all of your friends. Like I said, episode 82, we got a lot of bowl games to talk about. A couple of Illinois basketball games that we're going to quickly recap because we did do post-game shows. If you want to check those out, go to our YouTube as well. And then, do you have any, I forgot to ask you, do you have any movies or entertainment? Do we need to tease that? Or are we going to cut that out?
I did catch up on some things this weekend.
Okay.
Nothing that I don't know we need to really spend a lot of time on, but
all right.
I did spend some time at the Cineplex this weekend, so I can mention some things. But...
All right. Well, we'll start it off here. First of all, nice to see you, Logan.
Hello.
Other
Craig.
than, did you just headbutt your microphone?
Yes. Chin butt. Yes. Hello.
Other than catching up on movies and stuff, how was your weekend?
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Didn't do a ton. Just a kind of a productive Saturday around the house, taking care of some things, and then Sunday, yeah, I actually spent some time at the theater Sunday. Watched some football on Saturday. Didn't really watch much football yesterday, but it was good. Nice, relaxing, slow weekend before things kind of ramp up before the holidays. So, how about you? Anything exciting in your life?
No, not at all. No traveling today. Didn't leave the couch, or this weekend didn't leave the couch. But I will say, I'm for the most part more checked out of the NFL and football this year than I have been at this point in a long time.
Yeah,
and
I think it's his Cowboy shirt.
That's what I'm saying. The only thing I care about right now is the Cowboys because 4 of my 5 fantasy teams are trash. So I have no really reason to watch on Sundays. So speaking of Cowboys, just juggernauts right now. Impressive last night.
I've honestly kind of had a hit or miss relationship with the NFL for quite some time. I play fantasy football every single year, and I do care about that. And if I'm not doing anything else, I will sit down and watch some football on Sunday, but I've never subscribed to Sunday Ticket or Red Zone or anything like that. And I'm not really a Bears fan or a Colts fan. So like, those are usually the games that I can see on Sundays. So like Sunday nights, I'll usually sit down and watch some of the Sunday night game. But it just kind of depends. So it's kind of hit or miss with me. Honestly, during football season, I'm more invested in college football. So if I'm going to spend a day of my weekend watching football or spending a lot of time watching football, it's going to be Saturday. And then my Sunday is going to be spent doing other things, which is usually how my life works. So yeah, I'm kind of with you. It's just, I care. I follow it. I know what's going on for the most part. And I listen to a lot of shows and podcasts and things that talk about it, but I don't sit down and watch football for 8 hours a day on Sundays.
Yeah. First couple of months, that's what it is. I sit down as soon as Red Zone starts and I don't leave the couch unless it's to go to the bathroom or to eat, fully invested. And then the last couple of weeks, I've just been like, whatever. I'll catch up on YouTube videos or something while NFL is going on. But yeah, that's where we're at. Mainly, it might be because Illinois football has been so impressive, and that's been dominating our Saturdays. Illinois is heading to the ReliaQuest Bowl, which I believe last week is pretty much where all the projections had Illinois going. I heard multiple things back and forth leading up to Sunday. At one point, U of I had a picture of Nissan Stadium in Nashville on their app as like a header on their app. So everyone thought they might have jumped the gun and it was going to be the Music City. And then a couple people were saying they're hearing some Citrus Bowl buzz, but then Brett Bielema tweeted out, I hear Florida is nice in January. So we kind of knew it was going to be Tampa or Orlando. And it is Tampa. It is Tampa. It is January 2nd against number 22, Mississippi State, 8-4. The Bulldogs are overall. They went 4-4 in the SEC. It is a 11 Central Time, noon Eastern kickoff on ESPN2. This is like the window for New Year's because you have I believe it's the Citrus, the ReliaQuest, and the Cotton Bowl, maybe all at the same time. There's one other bowl that's going on at the same exact time. There's three: ESPN, ABC, and ESPN2. So it's a good window. This is the first New Year's Day bowl. It's not technically a New Year's Six bowl, but there are only a handful that are after the new year. This is the first one of those for Illinois since that Rose Bowl in 2007, and the first Florida Bowl since 1999. Josh Whitman mentioned that yesterday. First Florida Bowl since he was in pads at the Micron PC Bowl in 1999. I know this is what we were expecting, but how do you react now that it's official, Logan?
It's nice to see.
Yeah.
This Illinois season has kind of, I don't want to call it a roller coaster. It was a high, and then it just kind of dipped. And then we've known for a long time Illinois was going to go to a bowl game. But for it to be a January 1st, technically January 2nd, I guess, bowl, that's a big deal. That's a big deal for this program. It's something we haven't seen in a very, very, very long time. It's huge for a lot of things. It's huge for the fans. It's huge for recruiting. It's just a nice thing to see to cap off what's been a very, I would say, a very successful football season. I know there was a point in there towards the end of the season where you would have liked to have had at least one of those wins. But that is what it is. And now you're going to go up against a top 25 ranked SEC team. So I think it makes all the sense in the world. I think this is the most, the placement doesn't really shock me. I've been kind of tracking this for the last few weeks just to kind of see. I know you have been for a while, but as we got a little closer, just what really makes sense, kind of doing my own math and my own stuff as opposed to just seeing what other people are saying.
Turning into our own bracketologist here.
Yeah, I enjoy doing that stuff. This is a little harder to predict because there's really not necessarily any rhyme or reason as to who goes to where in some of these situations. Like with the SEC, they have what they call their tier 1 bowls, and there's like
there's a pecking order.
And but it's not. Yes, it is. It is.
But because you finish fourth in the SEC doesn't mean you get the fourth bowl,
right? Exactly.
In their order, because the bowl gets to pick.
They pick
if the team is the same team that was there last year, then they're ineligible. Right. And so
there was the order, but there was the whole thing going around that if Ohio State didn't get in the playoff, that they would be the logical first choice for the Rose Bowl to go there, but because they went last year, that the Rose Bowl would then pick Penn State. So it's not necessarily like, yes, there is a pecking order, but it's not necessarily 1 + 1 = 2 necessarily all the time. So that's why it's a little harder to predict.
And to continue with that, something I heard when I was back in Champaign on Friday was that if Ohio State ended up, I believe if Ohio State ended up in a New Year's Six, not the Rose Bowl or the playoff, then that meant a Big Ten team could not go to the ReliaQuest, which would move everything down. Yeah, Kent Brown said that in an interview that I
didn't
heard
know that
with someone. So there was a whole lot, including Notre Dame. Like two bowls were fighting over Notre Dame.
That makes sense because is that why you made the comment you did on, was it Tuesday? Whenever we did our last post-game show, you made a comment about, because it was Friday night because USC was losing to Utah or just lost to Utah or something.
Yeah.
And you had said that is better for Illinois in terms of bowl placement.
Ohio State in the playoff.
I didn't know why that was, because going into it, Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State were all going to be New Year's Six bowls.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any scenario in which they weren't. So I didn't understand how the order of it would affect Illinois, but I guess that makes sense if that's the reasoning.
Yeah. So I meant to say this off the jump. ReliaQuest Bowl. This is the first year for the ReliaQuest Bowl. Those listening, it is the Outback Bowl. The Outback Bowl has changed names to the ReliaQuest Bowl. So Outback has always been that very next tier after the New Year's Six. It's like one of the best you can get without being New Year's Six. In fact, there are only 10 teams in college football that play a game after January 1, and Illinois will be one of those 10. There are 4 bowl games: the ReliaQuest, Citrus, Cotton, Rose Bowl, and the National Championship. Those are the only games that happen after the new year. And as we know, the bowls kind of crescendo up to that point. So the later you are in the season, the better the bowl. This is a huge, huge, big step forward for the program. I know I'm in the minority here, and don't take this the wrong way, because 8-4 ReliaQuest Bowl appearance is massive for this program, but there's still part of me that's the what could have been.
For
if you
sure.
beat Indiana, if you beat Michigan State, you're 10-2 or probably 10-3. You might be a New Year's 6. You would be right there with Penn State for that New Year's 6, right?
I mean, maybe, but
If you're 10-2 and you put up a game with Michigan,
Purdue won the division. They're in the Citrus Bowl. I mean, I don't. Illinois or the Big Ten has 5 teams playing on either in the playoff or on January 2nd. 5 teams.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty incredible. Yep. And for Illinois to be one of them says a lot. I mean, yes, you're right. I mean, probably 2 wins, probably maybe additional 2 wins would get you into that conversation. I don't know that one more win would have gotten you into that conversation.
No. I think if you beat Indiana like you should have, and then you beat either Michigan State or Purdue, you win the Big Ten West and put up a fight against Michigan again. You're 10-3. I don't know. Maybe they couldn't have got a better bowl other than what they did, but neither here nor there. We'll talk more about the bowl game as it comes, but it's a great place for Illinois to be in year 2 of Bielema. And with the transfer portal, I know last year in the offseason, after a 5-7 season, I was like, next year's going to be rough because they lost so many pieces from Bielema's first season, and then he improved. So with the portal, anything can happen. So we'll see, but that's for talk for a later day. There was a lot of awards handed out and named within the last week. I think the most notable is Illinois had 19 players named to all Big Ten team. I believe that's the most is it the West? Has to be the West, right? Or think in the entire conference. It's the most in the West, I believe. But the big one, Chase Brown was not first team, media or coaches. Those went to Blake Corum and Mo Ibrahim. Thoughts?
I've been saying this for a while. You know what? Let me just back up. You know what I've been saying for a while about Chase Brown when it comes to his numbers and his stats? And back when we were having the discussion about, is he a Heisman candidate?
Probably once you say it, I'll remember you saying it, but I don't remember.
Touchdowns.
Yep.
Chase Brown scored 7 touchdowns this year. I mean, it's a much smaller number than both of those other running backs. He had more yards, had more carries. I mean, the number of carries, I haven't.
He got to 10, and Northwestern was his 10th rushing touchdown.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know that it's fair, but I can't also say that it's
3 receiving, so 13 total.
Okay, I don't love it, and I don't know that it's totally fair. Corum, I can understand. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a toss up there between him and Mo. I don't know that I would go that it was leaning super heavily one way or the other. He was just the workhorse. He was the entire Illinois offense. So it's hard to say that he shouldn't be a first team all conference player, because he's going to be getting he's a top 3 finalist for the best running back in the country. And for him to not be first team all Big Ten kind of, says a lot. But I can't say I'm totally shocked basically by those touchdown numbers.
Blake Corum, 1,463 yards on 247 carries, 18 touchdowns. Mo Ibrahim, 1,594 yards on 304 carries, 19 touchdowns. Chase Brown, 1,643 yards, 328 carries, 10 touchdowns. Those are the rushing numbers. I don't know the receiving numbers. Who are the Doak finalists? Speaking of, that leads right into our next thing. Chase Brown is a finalist for the Doak Walker Award.
It's him, Blake Corum.
I think Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, that sounds right. From Texas.
Which I would assume Robinson probably wins. I don't think Chase wins this award. I know he's got the most rushing yards in the Power Five, and if some dude from UAB didn't run for 260 yards in their final game, he would have led the country. But that dude went off on last Saturday. Let me make
Yeah.
sure this is right
The
here.
other thing too, I
Yeah,
think,
those are the three.
I mean, I think if you look at the numbers, I think it's the number of touchdowns that they scored were probably from, the goal line or from, 5 yards in, which kind of tells you it's more just about the linemen, maybe than
Yeah,
anything else.
yeah.
I mean, as I said, I can't be totally shocked. I mean, that's just where they had to go with it. So
Bijan had 1,580 yards, 258 carries, and 18 touchdowns rushing. I think Robinson wins it, but yeah, I'm with you. Touchdowns. He needed to get it into the end zone more. The red zone struggles once again come back to bite for a different reason this time, as opposed to just not putting up points. But he's not the only finalist. I think Devon Witherspoon might win the Thorpe Award.
yeah.
For best. I believe that's defensive back. That's not defensive player.
No, it's not defensive player.
But yeah, Devon Witherspoon is the
Defensive
is a
back.
finalist for the Thorpe Award. I believe him and Chase are the first Illini finalists for those awards ever. I don't think there's ever been another finalist from Illinois for those. But I legitimately think he does have a shot at this one. It's him, Travius Hodges Tomlinson, and Clark Phillips. Hodges Tomlinson's from TCU and Clark Phillips from Utah, and Devon Witherspoon from obviously the Illini. He's worked his way into a first round pick. I genuinely believe him and Chase. I don't think we'll see them again wear an Illinois uniform. I don't think they play in the bowl game.
Correct.
There's no reason for
in the
them
bowl
to.
game? Yeah, probably
Yeah,
not.
yeah. I don't think there's any reason for them to. I've seen Witherspoon on multiple first round NFL mocks. Chase won't be a first round pick. He'll probably be maybe a second day, maybe a late third, early fourth,
Yeah.
depending on the running back need and how he grades out. But no reason for either of them to suit up in the bowl game. That's just today's day and age. But two finalists for awards that Illinois has never had. So that's what we've got as far as awards go. Anything else? Any other thoughts on that?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, all of it. The 19 all conference selections, two players that are award finalists for the entire country. I mean, that's, we can be disappointed about a few of these games this season, but I don't think anybody would have expected this, for this to be the season and this to be the outcome. I don't think anybody saw Chase Brown as a Doak finalist. Like, I mean, I can't be any happier about how the season went for Illinois.
How many Doak finalists do you think Bielema has had in his
that's
career?
A good question.
Because I would assume this is going to become not the norm, because there are only 3 finalists for the award every year. But I'm assuming Bielema's probably had multiple winners of this award, so it's only a matter of time before Illinois has a Doak winner.
Yeah, I'd like to see the list. I can see the list of
Jonathan
winners.
Taylor won in 19 and 18, Melvin Gordon in 14, Monty Ball in 12. Taylor was not Jonathan Taylor was not Bielema. Bielema was at Arkansas. Or no, Bielema was not coaching in the college at that point. But Melvin Gordon and Monty Ball won the award.
Yeah.
But I don't know where you can find finalists without having to go year by year. But yeah, I imagine that Illinois' Chase Brown is not going to be the last Doak finalist for Illinois as long as Brett Bielema is the coach. On the field last week, obviously, as you all know, Michigan beat Purdue 43-22. Don't really have too much to dissect there, but what do you think? Did you watch? Was it closer than you expected it to be?
No,
Anything
I
else?
wouldn't. I wouldn't say so. I mean, this is probably what I was expecting. I think uh, Purdue had a shot at some point. I would
Yeah.
think going into it to do it, but I didn't really have a lot of confidence in it. Michigan is a far better team. I mean, it just proves the difference between those two divisions.
Yeah.
We've known it all year long.
Yeah.
It is what it is. The Big Ten West had about four teams that would have been about fourth or fifth in the East. um, and they all were kind of towards the top of the West. So
Yep.
no, I can't really say I'm surprised.
Yep.
Michigan's good. There's a reason they're the number 2 team in the country.
Right. Other Big Ten bowls, obviously, we already touched on. Michigan and Ohio State are in the college football playoff. Penn State gets Utah in the Rose Bowl. Purdue in the Citrus Bowl against LSU. Iowa in the Music City Bowl against Kentucky. That is December 31st. Duke's Mayo Bowl for Maryland against NC State, December 30th. Pinstripe Bowl for Minnesota against Syracuse, December 29th. And Wisconsin Guaranteed Rate Bowl against Oklahoma State, the 27th. Those are some good matchups.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like bowl season, being able to watch all these different teams play teams they don't normally play and all that stuff. So I believe the first bowl game's the 16th. It's a couple low group of 5 teams playing, but there's the Big Ten bowl schedule. And the playoff, Georgia 1, Michigan 2, TCU 3, Ohio State 4. Did the committee get it right, Logan Lee?
Yes. Well,
Why
no,
the
I'll say this.
hesitancy?
No, it's what I was pretty confident they would do. They have yet to put two teams from the same conference against each other in the semifinal.
Do you think Ohio State should have been 3?
I think you can certainly make an argument for that. Yes. And I think the reason why they weren't 3 is because they didn't want to put Michigan and Ohio State against each other in the semifinal.
Should have put Ohio State over TCU. They're with 1 loss.
If you were to ask Kirby Smart who he'd want to play, who do you think he'd say?
Resume by resume here, side by side resume.
I'm just asking.
I'm not saying Ohio State's not the better team, but it's about what you do. Who did Ohio State beat other than Notre Dame?
Penn State.
And Penn State. That's it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Who did TCU beat?
Kansas State twice, top 10, or no, Kansas State once earlier in the year. Texas. I mean, the Big 12 has a lot of ranked games. At one point they played 5 ranked games in a row.
I don't think you're wrong, but
they were all close. They got lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy.
Still won the games.
I'm happy with the order. I have no real qualms with the order. I just, after TCU lost and had their 1 loss, I would probably have put Ohio State above them. But I'm pretty confident why they didn't do it. We haven't seen it, and I don't think we ever will, because we're going to get a 12-team playoff in a couple years, and then it will be the end of it. But
right.
So that's kind of what I was expecting at this point. Sure, you can make an argument to switch 1 or 2, and you could make an argument to switch 3 and 4. But I think for the most part, they were going to leave it as they were. And TCU's 1 loss was, that makes sense. It makes sense. I don't have a lot of issues with it.
Do you think Alabama was close? Do you think they even discussed Alabama at 4 instead of Ohio State?
No.
I don't either.
No.
But off the field, what was your take on the media parade Nick Saban did on Saturday night with all of the networks begging the committee to put him on? Is that not a little I don't know what the right word is, but ESPN and all them trying to get Bama into the playoff? Pandering? Is pandering the right word?
I mean, he was on Fox too, and Fox doesn't care. Fox doesn't have any of it. He was on their halftime show too.
Fox wanted Michigan and Ohio State because it's the Big Ten, and they got the Big Ten starting
but
next year.
They still had Nick Saban on. I don't know. I don't love it. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I can understand where Nick's coming from, because there's the whole Who are it's it's the whole who are the best 4 teams in the country versus what does your record show on the field.
Yeah.
Alabama has 2 losses. Like you can't have 2 losses and make the college football playoff unless you probably
And
maybe win your conference championship.
no great
Then it's a
wins.
maybe, huh?
No great wins either.
No, and exactly that's the other thing too. But let's just start with the losses. Like we
Yeah.
talked about this for a long time. Like no team has ever got in with 2 losses.
Yeah.
LSU would have been the first one this year had they beaten Georgia in the SEC championship game, and that game wasn't even close. So
Yeah.
Alabama had 2 losses. Let's just start there. Ohio State didn't have 2 losses. If you want to compare wins, Ohio State had better wins than
Yeah.
Alabama did.
Yep.
TCU had better wins than Alabama did.
Yep.
So no, I mean, I think that Alabama might have had a case if TCU got their socks blown off by Kansas State. Then maybe Alabama has a case. But
Yep.
that game went to overtime, and at that point, I didn't think there was much of a chance.
Yep.
And I'm over the moon excited for it.
Oh,
I
me
love
too.
that TCU's in there. I love that the Big Ten gets 2 teams. I love that Alabama's not. Nothing against Alabama, but I love to see some new blood in there every once in a while.
That's what I was gonna say. I wish USC would have won because I would have liked to have USC and TCU both making the first appearance. Last year we had multiple teams making their first appearance, which is good for the sport, I think. The New Year's Six Bowls running down them in order of when they will happen. Orange Bowl, number 7 Clemson versus number 6 Tennessee. It's on the 30th. Sugar Bowl is number 9 Kansas State versus number 5 Alabama, the 31st, and then the New Year's Bowls, Cotton Bowl. Number 16 Tulane against number 10 USC. Rose Bowl is number 10 Penn State versus number 8 Utah, also on the 2nd. And then the Fiesta Bowl is the national championship semi. Number 3 TCU versus Michigan. These are both on the 31st. And then the Peach Bowl is Ohio State versus Georgia. None of them really excite me. I'm going to be honest. I don't care for the Tulane USC game. I think that could be a bloodbath. I think Alabama will crush Kansas State. Rose Bowl might be good. Orange Bowl might be good. But for the most part, there are at least 2 games that I really don't care about. Anything to add?
No, I mean, this is the world that we live in. We've lived in this world for a while. The bowl system hasn't changed. But yeah, you're always going to get those. I mean, I love that the group of 5 is involved. But yeah, this is a particular year where I don't think Tulane really belongs in this conversation. No. I'm glad they're there. I'm glad they're getting the recognition. But no, I'm with you. There's not a lot of exciting matchups there that really intrigue me. But I do want to say though, have you looked at what the 12-team playoff would have looked like this year? Have you really given that much thought?
I've seen them, but
because
I haven't
it's kind of crazy
to
think about. Because the top 4 seeds who all get buys are all the highest 4 ranked
conference
champions. So in that case, it's Georgia, Michigan, and then it's
Utah, Kansas State. Yeah.
Or was Clemson in there? I don't remember. Either way.
No, it's Clemson. It's Clemson and Utah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, those are the 4 seeds. I mean, it's just kind of interesting to think about it that way because 2 of your 4 playoff teams did not win their conference championship.
Yeah. TCU would have been the 5 seed, Ohio State the 6, and then so on and so forth after that.
TCU wouldn't have been the 5. Kansas State would have been the 5.
You're right.
No, you're right. Wait, is it? I haven't understood that part. Is the 5 still a conference champion?
I don't know.
It's not important. We don't have to talk about it.
I mean,
I just wasn't sure.
With how I would want to do it would be the 5 top seeds are the conference champions.
So no, you're right. It is 5 is
TCU
just
would
the
be
top,
5.
the next ranked.
Yeah.
Yes,
the 4 seeds with buys have to be conference champs, and then it goes by ranking. So yeah, TCU is 5, Ohio State 6, Bama 7, Tennessee, Kansas State, USC, Penn State. So we'd have an Ohio State Penn State game there, and then Tulane at 12. But yeah, a couple more years. We still got one more year after this of 4 teams, and then we move to the 12, which I am super excited for. Coach Prime time in Boulder. It actually happened, I think, as we were doing our post-game show Friday night for Illinois basketball. What's your thoughts now after he's met the team, and already told him that his son's transferring before his son entered the portal and all,
Yeah,
all of
some
that.
of
And
some of the comments that have gone out to the world, I thought were a little questionable, that he said to his team, but
old team or new team?
well, a bit of both. But there was the one the video that's circulating that he's saying to his old team, or no, his new team, excuse me, about basically saying get in the portal. Uh, I don't know.
Bunch of y'all ain't gonna be here when I come
Yeah,
back.
no, I know. I think he could have gotten a bigger job at some point. I'm not sure that was happening this year. Uh, Colorado's maybe it's just a no pressure situation.
I think so.
They have been about as bad of a Power 5 conference team as you can get for a while, but they're not that far removed from being a top 15 program. I mean, it's only been 10 or so years since then. I don't think there's a lot of pressure, and the biggest concern I would have is I don't know what conference they're going to be in a few years. I don't know what that situation is going to look like. But who knows if he'll even be there then. So we'll just have to see. He wasn't getting if he wasn't going to get Auburn, Minnesota, or Auburn, Wisconsin, or Nebraska, which would be the three bigger profile jobs this year. And if he was looking to move, why not? Why not take a shot, go somewhere new, and try to regain some of the history that Colorado program had in its heyday, whenever that might be.
That's what I was gonna say. You said it's only a couple years ago.
No, it's been longer than that.
So they made the Independence Bowl in 2007, and since then and I'm excluding 2020, the COVID year, they did make a bowl there, but from 2008 to 2020, they made one bowl in 2016. Yeah. It has not been a good program. I think that's probably why the more I thought about it, and as the news started to come out, the more it made sense. Like, he really hasn't proved anything. I mean, the SWAC is not a great football conference. It's FCS level. So the Blue Bloods, the big time Power 5 teams, they're the Nebraskas, the Auburns, the Wisconsins, they're not going to take that kind of shot.
Yeah.
Colorado is a place that will do that because they're a bottom half of the conference they're in, and they need to do something. They need to draw some attention. So I think that is actually a good spot. It's close to Denver, a city that he can kind of recruit to. So I think it's a good fit. Obviously, Colorado AD is a former Illini. Rick George played football for Illinois. I don't know how long he's been at Colorado, but yeah, played football for Illinois, grad from Illinois. So huge hire for him. Deion was the biggest fish of the pond. I mean, the biggest splash hire. So we'll see if it works. It's going to be fun no matter what. I mean, he's going to make Colorado football enjoyable. Already said he's bringing his son. I'm sure he'll bring the top recruit from last year, Travis Hunter, that he surprisingly got on signing day, and some other guys that he's kind of decided to take under his wing and turn give him a chance. So we'll see. It's gonna be fun. I'll definitely watch Colorado games next season. That's that's for sure.
Yeah. I know somebody that goes to school there. So if you want to
let's go to a game.
Hit me up. Hit me up.
Run with the Bull too. Run with Ralphie.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's I think it's a good spot. I think he'll have some success there, regardless of whatever conference they end up in. And
he's got some NIL money to work with now too.
Yeah, he'll do that for a few years, and then he'll go on to another opportunity, or he'll flame out and never coach again. So
that's one thing he did say in his speech to his old team. He was like, if you don't move forward, then you're either, I forgot how he said it. You're either something or you're terminated. You're either elevated or you're terminated. I was like, that's a good one, Deion.
Yeah, that's good.
In other coaching news that has absolutely rocked the world I live in down here in Louisville, Scott Satterfield has bolted from Louisville to take the job at Cincinnati. Woke up to that news this morning and was like, holy cow.
What a world we live in.
I will, and I have gone on record saying that I thought Satterfield would be fired after the season. So this is the prime case of I'm going to jump ship before I get fired. And I mean, it's that initial shock factor of why would someone leave Louisville for Cincinnati, which does make sense. But if you knew the situation, he had lost the fan base. Um, he was not. There was no support for him down here a couple of years ago when South Carolina hired, not Frank Beamer, Shane Beamer. When South Carolina hired Shane Beamer, Satterfield interviewed for that job after only being in Louisville for a couple years, and he lost it at that point. He lost the fans and never gained them back. So, those of you on the outside that think it's a head scratcher, it's really not, because he did not have much support here in Louisville. So might as well go get another 6-year guaranteed deal when you only had 2 guaranteed here, if that even. But yeah, it was initial shock factor, like holy cow, because he did turn the season around. But let me just say, fans down here are 80% of them are ecstatic that he is gone.
I mean, it doesn't totally shock me, but it's still, yeah. I mean, it's still kind of surprising when it all came out, because I don't think people were expecting it to happen. But
Yeah.
when you think about it, as you explain it, it makes a lot of sense. Does that? My next question will be: does that impact the Big Ten?
I think it does. I think that is what led to a lot of the criticisms of Satterfield. Was he's not Jeff Brom. They want Jeff Brom, and unless they get Jeff Brom, they're going to be all over the ass of whoever is the head coach if he doesn't win 10 games a season. Jeff Brom is the golden child, the savior of Louisville, from Louisville, played for the Cardinals. Like, he is who they want. So I think they will do whatever they need to get him this time. Because if you don't, you're going to do the same thing to whoever you do hire that you did to Satterfield. It's going to be this guy isn't Jeff Brom, so whatever he does is not the right thing. And it's going to hang over the new coach's head. I think they do whatever they can to get Jeff Brom from Purdue. I really do. I don't see any other outcome. I don't know. I think that's who it is. And until Brom says no, I'm going to continue to think that, even whatever he says. He has been asked about it multiple times. A couple months ago, in the middle of the season or before the season, maybe, he was in Louisville for a speaking event, and someone asked him about the Louisville job. Because he was offered it in 2018. And he said, at that point, I had only been at Purdue for 2 years. I was taught and raised to kind of see things through and don't cut things short. And at that point, I had only been at Purdue for 2 years. I hadn't really built anything yet. I'm not going to say what could happen in the future. And he basically left it open-ended. And then it just so happened that he had a press conference this morning, 2 hours after the Satterfield news, and someone asked him about Louisville. And once again, he did not deny it. He's like, I just found out about it a couple hours ago, but he never said, no, I'm not going to Louisville. So I don't know. The writing's kind of on the wall. We'll see. I think it's Brom's job if he wants it.
I would agree. And I think if he wants it, he will go. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. So
what's the better job? Let me ask you. Someone that doesn't live in Louisville, that actually lives fairly close to Purdue. What's the better job? A Big Ten West job or an ACC job?
Well, I don't know that the Big Ten West will be a thing anymore. So I don't think that matters. But a middle tier Big Ten team, or what do we call in Louisville football?
They went 4-4 this year. 7-5, 4-4. I would say middle, maybe upper.
I mean, a middle tier Big Ten program would be better than a mid tier ACC program, just because the Big Ten is one of two now. The ACC cannot compete with the Big Ten. So if that's what you're comparing, then if his personal preference,
let me switch.
I think it's just up to him. I think it's wherever he wants to be.
Are Purdue and Illinois parallel programs, or is Purdue a little bit above Illinois?
Purdue would probably be a little bit above Illinois, I would say.
So put yourself in Jeff Brom's shoes, but let's switch Purdue to Illinois. And you, Logan Lee, grew up in Oakwood, played at Illinois, but you're coaching now at Louisville, and Illinois offers you the job. Would you leave
I'm
Louisville?
going to Illinois.
Okay, so
I mean, he leaves. He goes to Louisville.
yeah.
I don't think that's any debate. Now, if we're talking, if you're the head coach at Alabama, and if you're Nick Saban or if you're Jeff Brom, if Brom was having all the success in the world at Ohio State, would you go home to Louisville? I don't think you make that jump. But if we're at that level, I mean, Purdue and Louisville have to be considered fairly similar programs. And if he wants to go home, he'll go home. I mean, I don't think there's.
I thought about this too. Big Ten currently has Ohio State, Michigan, going to have USC, Penn State, UCLA is a pretty good program. So there's I would say 5 to 7 schools that could win that conference. What's the ACC got? Clemson? Miami's garbage. Florida State's pretty good, 9-3 this year.
I mean, I think they're more than just that, but I mean, yeah, it's pretty much been a Clemson dominated program or conference for the last few years.
You are in the same division as Clemson, so you do have to get through them to go to the conference title. But if you beat Clemson occasionally and go to the title, ACC is a much clearer path. But also, you have to see what's happened. Big Ten just got 2 college football playoff teams. I don't know that the ACC will ever get. Well, we won't know because there's only one more year of it. But I don't know. I think Louisville has the sell now to get Brom where they didn't 2 years ago.
I don't think it matters. I think he goes home.
Yeah, I agree.
Plain and simple. I don't think there's an argument. I just think he does. Again, if we're talking Ohio State to Louisville, I think it's a different conversation. But we're talking Purdue to Louisville. Yeah. And if his heart is in the other place and we're comparing apples to apples here, he's going to go home. If he doesn't want that pressure, then he won't. And that's up to him. But if he wants to go home, he won't.
I mean, he'll have a much longer leash here too. Like if he does what Satterfield did, 2 bowl games in 4 years to start the program, I think they would be happy. Also, you have to think Louisville needs to make a smash hire because they have a top 20 recruiting class right now, and you want to keep those kids. They have the best recruiting class in Louisville history, and we're 2 weeks away from signing day. So they need to move quick, and they need to get their number 1 target, and it needs to be Jeff Brom so they can keep this class that has the best running back in the country committed, a top 10 quarterback, I believe, and a couple offensive linemen that are huge. So it's got to be Brom. I think it will be. And Louisville football will already be a much better place than Louisville basketball. Woof.
Yeah, what's going on there with the basketball program, Craig?
Net rankings came out today, which we're going to talk about. Louisville, there's 363 college Division I basketball programs. Louisville is 361 in the net rankings. Only 2 programs worse than Louisville right now. You couldn't pay me to go to a basketball game right now.
Yikes.
And their women's program is not tanking, but really struggling. So not good on the basketball court here in Louisville.
Big yikes.
We do have one pick your pick this week. There's only one game. Logan went 4-1 in champ week. I went 2-3. He has a 2-game lead over me, 42-29 to 40-31. It's Army Navy. Maybe my favorite individual game of the year. The uniforms are always just some of the best. The pageantry of everything that goes on. I believe it's in Philadelphia this year. Everything about it is awesome. It's normally on CBS. Is it on CBS again this year?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, CBS. Sometime Saturday, usually in the afternoon. It is 3 o'clock Eastern
3 o'clock,
Saturday
CBS.
on CBS. Army Navy. What are your thoughts, Logan?
First off, you're a geek. Second,
what?
Just your whole uniform.
My uniform thing? Oh, I'm a uni nerd.
I'm kind of upset that we didn't do a whole segment on
the Twins.
But the NBA city jerseys.
City jerseys. A few weeks ago. I sent my tweet out. I got my top 3.
I figured we would have a whole segment dedicated to that in that show. I mean, I don't really invest a lot of my time watching Army Navy. Maybe that's un-American of me. But it's just It's just not. I have watched in the past. I remember watching some of it last year, but this is a fairly even matchup this year. So
It is very.
we'll see. I mean, make my pick.
Yeah, go for it.
Are you gonna? Oh wait. Oh, we're both gonna pick the same game.
We're both picking this one. Yeah.
Okay. This is different than what we've been doing. You're gonna throw.
There's only one. There's only one game.
Okay. If I pick one, do you have to take the other? Is that how this works?
No.
Why not?
I just hope you don't pick the same one that I'm going to.
Okay, I'm gonna pick Navy.
Damn.
You want Navy? Then I'll take Army.
No, you pick Navy.
Makes better content.
Neither of them can win the Commander-in-Chief trophy. Air Force has already won that. I believe they beat both of them. Yeah. Air Force beat both Army and Navy, so Air Force won the Commander-in-Chief trophy this year for the 21st time. I'm picking Navy as well. The line is even. It was Navy -1 earlier, but is back to a pick 'em right now. Navy's just played better competition. Army hasn't really played anybody. I looked at the schedule earlier. Army's 5-6, Navy's 4-7, but Navy plays in the American, so they at least play a couple decent teams a year. I'm going with the midshipmen. Anything else football?
Same. No. I'm excited for bowl season. I'm excited to have some time off of work and to sit down and watch some bowl games. But we still got a few weeks till then. So
speaking of, backtrack to the Satterfield talk. Do you know what the bowl game is?
What bowl game?
The Fenway Bowl is Louisville versus Cincinnati.
Is it really?
It is.
I didn't know that. Okay.
It is.
That'll be fun.
And because it's in Fenway, they share a sideline like Illinois Northwestern did at Wrigley. Yeah.
The Satterfield Bowl.
All sorts of awkward turtle there.
The people up here in South Bend were really pulling for a Notre Dame LSU bowl game
matchup. Yeah.
They were hoping. I had heard hopes that it would be in the Gator Bowl and they could call it the Trader Bowl. Didn't happen, obviously.
No. Not Louisville. Notre Dame was being fought over by the Gator Bowl and
they're a hot commodity.
Holiday Bowl. Where did they end up? I don't even know.
Gator. It was the Gator Bowl against
South Carolina.
South Carolina, yes.
Basketball. Illinois split the week 1-1. Beat Syracuse 73-44. Lost at Maryland 71-66. I said early in the show. We did post-game shows for both of those. Go check them out on our YouTube to get our full in-depth thoughts. The Syracuse game, Coleman Hawkins had a triple-double. That was the storyline. I think the Maryland game, maybe the pretzel that was thrown at Brad Underwood, maybe that was the storyline. Did you see the video today that Brett sent out?
I didn't. But
Underwood had his weekly media before the game tomorrow against Texas, and he talked about the environment and said it was I think he said it was a half-eaten chicken breast that was thrown at him. That was a first, but
surprised it wasn't a pizza.
He had a lot of good things to say about the Maryland crowd, but it was a dogfight in Maryland. I think Maryland's a lot better than people expected. They're better than I thought they would be. I thought Illinois might win that game, or it would at least be down to the final possession. But any other thoughts that we didn't get to in the post-game show, or anything you want to add about those before we move on?
No, I think just to kind of reiterate what we both said, I think that, I don't know that I really felt a lot of pressure for Illinois to win that game at all. I'm glad that they fought the way they did. I'm glad the veterans showed up and carried the load, because the freshmen looked a lot like freshmen for the first time all season. And it was a good first Big Ten road test that they're going to see, because I don't know that you're going to see a lot more hostile environments than that. So it's a good way to start. And as you said, that's a pretty darn good Maryland team. The Syracuse game, I know Syracuse isn't very good, and this is one of the worst teams Boeheim has had in years, but still, I mean, Illinois just absolutely throttled them. I mean, that was a damn near 30-point game against, a team that a program that's historically been
Yeah.
one of the best in college basketball. So, I can't say I'm, would have loved to have gone 2-0 in that week in that stretch, but for the outcomes to happen like they did, I'm fine with it. I really am.
Then Syracuse turned around and beat Notre Dame on Saturday.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, yeah, this week, tomorrow night, it's Texas, number 2 Texas, number 1 in the Ken Palm. Been playing really well. Jimmy V Classic in New York City, Madison Square Garden. I believe it is a 7:00 Eastern tip. I believe.
Yes, correct.
6:00 Central. On ESPN. Yes, on
Correct.
ESPN. So the highlight game, Texas is a 4-point favorite. Over under 140.5. Yeah, Texas has looked good. They have only really played two tough teams. They crushed Gonzaga at home, and then they beat Creighton at home as well, who Creighton just lost yesterday or the day before to Nebraska, which we'll talk about or mention in a little bit. But those are only 2 tough teams Texas has played, so this will be a tough test for them because they haven't really left Austin. Now they're in New York City. So what are your thoughts for tomorrow with 5 freshmen going into the biggest stage in basketball against the number 2 team in the country?
I mean, it's going to be a matter of if the freshmen look like freshmen. The freshmen did not look like freshmen against UCLA. That was another neutral court situation against a top 5, top 10 team. And the freshmen looked really good in that game. And then the freshmen went to Maryland and did not look good. I'm not saying this is all about the freshmen, but we talked about ad nauseum how this team is 9 deep and 5 of them are essentially freshmen. So yeah, that you just got to count on it. I mean, yeah, you can probably count Terrence Shannon for, at least 15 points and maybe another 10 or so out of Coleman. RJ's playing well, but you got to have other guys step up here, and you need the freshmen to get those early season jitters out of the way and show up. Because if they do, I think they got a pretty good shot to beat Texas. I really do. I think there's enough talent on this team. But it's, I can't sit here and guarantee they're going to win. Because I won't do that. But I think they have a shot. There's
you got to come out
to do it.
You got to come out and punch early.
Yeah.
You can't be tentative early. I don't know how Texas will respond if you come out and do that and get them down first half of the first half, but we'll see. I think the line's about right. If I had to pick a side, I would take Texas right now. I think it's probably a 6 to 8 point game for Texas, but it's like I said in the post game, it's just nice to know that the program's in a place that we can lose some of these games and still be okay, as opposed to the 6 years prior to Brad getting here where you felt like you had to win because you weren't every game could be the one that keeps you out of the tournament. I don't think this team misses the tournament if they lose this game to Texas, which is a good feeling to have. But at this point, it's just a growing experience because, like Logan said, 5 freshmen on the team that have never really done this. So, yeah, it should be a good one. I'm excited about it because Illinois hasn't played in games like this for the last 5 years. So to face the number 2 team non-conference in New York City on the biggest stage is a testament especially after what they did in Vegas with 2 top 20 matchups as well.
We're 8 games into the season and Illinois has more good wins than they have bad losses. So, I mean, I there's nothing to complain about at this point. So we'll see what team shows up. I think they have a good shot.
Yep. And then after that, Saturday back home for the second Big Ten early game against Penn State, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, Big Ten Network. Penn State's they're decent. I think they're about 40 in Ken Palm. It's not a game you should lose at home. They're 36 in Ken Palm. They're 6-2, and they play someone this week, Michigan State on Wednesday at home before heading to Champaign. So that'll complete the early Big Ten slate. Game Illinois should win. Honestly, I don't have any other expectation than to win that game Saturday.
No, you need to win on Saturday. You don't have to win tomorrow on Tuesday, but you have to win Saturday. You can't lose that game. That would be a bad loss.
You going?
Maybe.
Don't know yet. Maybe. Okay. Around the Big Ten this week, it was a insane weekend. Indiana lost at Rutgers, got throttled. Honestly, I watched the end of that, and Michigan State lost at home to Northwestern. Big Ten could be wild this year.
I
Could
mean,
be a wild year.
college basketball in general has been wild already.
Yeah,
And it's only December 5th. Yeah, there's just been some chaos coming out of the sport as a whole. Yeah, I've said it. I don't think there's a clear favorite in the Big Ten. I just don't.
yeah.
I know Purdue right now is the hot name because of who they beat of late.
They're gonna cool off.
They're gonna cool off, and I mean, I don't. I haven't had a real true favorite in this conference since the season started, and here we are a month and change into the season, and I still don't really know who to tell you is the favorite. So
While we're talking Purdue, Zach Edey, 31 points and 22 rebounds against Minnesota. Minnesota as a team had 21 rebounds.
yep, he's
question
taking
to you, Logan.
taking
How do
advantage
you
of not
guard
having
him?
to share the time.
How does Illinois guard him? How do teams stop Zach Edey or take him out of the game?
Hope and pray, baby. Hope and pray. I don't know. I mean, Illinois is going to be able to give him a different look than they have in the past. I mean, throwing Coleman up against him and Dane is, it's not Kofi. Coleman at least will give them a different type of look.
Five out, baby.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to look. I really don't, and I don't know how you defend him. You just have to hope that he has an off night, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still not sure he's the best player in the conference. But he's probably the most unguardable. Similar to what Kofi's been the last 3 years. 2 years prior to this. I don't know that Kofi was the best player in the conference, but he was the most unguardable, and that's what Zach Edey is now. There are other good post players in this conference, but I don't know that they can really I don't know that any of them can really stop him when he's on his game and he's staying out of foul trouble.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets the ball in the post, you can't stop him.
No.
You would have to like triple team him, and you're not going to do that because he just turns over you. He's 7'4", just turns over you and dishes it out, and they have a wide open shot. We'll talk more about that when Illinois plays Purdue, but I think you just got to run. You get the rebound, the 7-second offense. You just got to get down the court because you're fast. Everyone on the team's faster than him. Get down, make it try and get a number, and if you don't, play 5 out, draw him as far away from the basket as you can, and go. So
got to score 90 that game.
Yeah. The other Big Ten thing was Nebraska beat Creighton. Creighton was top 10. Nebraska, I think, beat them by 10 in Omaha. So Creighton's kind of fallen. That's a big win for Nebraska.
Yeah, absolutely.
An unexpected win for Nebraska.
Chaos.
Other college basketball, North Carolina. From number 1 to unranked. 4 losses in a row. All of them, I believe, though, to ranked teams. No, Virginia Tech was not ranked. Iowa State. 2 of the 4 were to ranked teams. But top 50 KenPom teams. They lost to Iowa State, Alabama, Indiana, and Virginia Tech. How do we not see this? Their run last year blinded us, but they were a very mediocre team before the NCAA tournament, and they won 5 in a row and got hot.
To be fair, I kind of thought that. I thought since the preseason started that I thought they were getting a little too much love. Similar to Indiana. Let's be honest there too. It's the same exact thing. I mean, Indiana barely made the tournament, and all of a sudden they're returning the exact same team, and they're the favorites to win the Big Ten. I'm not suggesting they won't win the Big Ten, but based on what merits? Like, that's what and the same thing with Carolina. Yeah, I know they had the nice run. I don't know. I think they're better than this. I think they'll get it together. And I think they'll be just fine once they get to the ACC conference games, but that's not a great stretch. To have this early in your season, because 2 of those losses especially, or one of them probably especially, will come back to bite you in the butt at some point. So
I don't know. I think all 4 of those are tournament teams.
Yeah, I mean, losing to Iowa State still at home is probably not ideal.
It was neutral.
Oh, was it? Oh, that was in Portland, wasn't it? Yeah. Never mind. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but I think that I don't know that I was totally bought in on them to begin with, but they had a lot of hype around them, so I was like, all right, well, maybe they are legit.
They still have 2 non-conference games, both Big Ten games, Ohio State and Michigan. Michigan, I believe, is in Charlotte, so it's not a
And
home game. It's not a road game, but
and the Citadel. You're forgetting the Citadel,
yeah,
whose
I
logo
don't know.
oddly resembles North Carolina. Now that I'm looking at it, um, kind of
I
funny.
can't think of any other like national storylines than that right now. But AP poll came out. Illinois number 17 dropped one spot after their loss to Maryland. Maryland, I believe, is up to 13. I think jumped from 22 to 13. I
Correct.
believe
Yes.
9
13.
spots.
Indiana
The only
14.
only other huge change was Creighton dropping, I think, 19 or something like that. 14 spots,
14
maybe.
spots down for
Yeah.
Creighton.
And then the net rankings, I touched on them earlier with Louisville. Net rankings came out today. Nothing to even care about, honestly. I don't even know why we're mentioning that because those won't matter until March. But Illinois came in at 13 on the initial net rankings. Number 7, Sam Houston. So give him a 2 seed.
I just want to point out that this is the first time I'm visiting this website, this webpage since March, and it gave me some feelings. I spent
X-rated feelings.
I spent a lot of time staring at this exact webpage for 2 straight months, and I haven't even thought about it since then. But now I'm looking at quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, quad 4 again, and it's kind
How do
of
we look?
it's
What's
given
Illinois
me
look like?
it's given me both feelings of excitement and joy, but also a lot of anxiety thinking about whether or not I'm going to go put myself through the same thing I did last year, because it was a lot of time and a lot of work. But it's good to see it. It's good to see it. I love it. Bring it on, baby. Let's go.
I mean, Illinois' resume isn't great. 1-2 in quad 1 and 5-0 in quad 4.
That's the non-con for you. They got
Yeah.
one more quad 1 game coming up in conference play or non-conference play before Big Ten season gets underway, and then that'll all be quads 1 and 2. So,
Well, since we touched on it, Louisville 0-2 in quad 1, 0-2 in quad 2, 0-1 in quad 3, and 0-3 in quad
you have
4.
to scroll a
They have
lot to get down to
3
Louisville.
quad 4 losses in non-conference play.
Yikes. Yikes.
Oh my god. Well, it's only them and California is the only other Power 5 without a win on the season. All right,
Bracketologist.com. I've missed you so much.
That's enough about college basketball. We do want to mention, we touched on this earlier. Shout out women's basketball. Great start to the season for Illini women's basketball. I've actually watched some. I watched their Pitt game in their ACC Big Ten Challenge game. And from watching the program with Nancy Faye, like we would go to every home game to get highlights. It is a completely different team. Like it's a competent basketball team. Like I don't want to gouge my eyes out watching Illinois women's basketball with Shauna Green as head coach. So give them a chance. If they're on TV, check them out. Before their game against Indiana yesterday, they were the best 3-point shooting team in the country. I don't know if they still are after that game or not, but they lost to Indiana, who I believe is a top 10 team. They lost to Indiana by 4 in Bloomington. They had the lead in the fourth quarter and lost by 4. So it could be a quick turnaround. A lot to look forward to with Illini women's basketball. So shout out.
Here you were telling people to cancel their BTN Plus subscription, but like this is how you're going to watch a lot of these games because most of their games are on BTN Plus. They're not on regular BTN. True. Only a handful of games are on the mothership. So yeah, keep that BTN Plus subscription to watch Illini women's hoops.
Quickly,
Craig's.
I canceled it. Sorry. Quickly, MLB free agency is starting to heat up. Jacob DeGrom
was today
to the Rangers, Justin Verlander to the Mets, and Trey Turner to the Phillies. DeGrom was last week. Yeah, DeGrom was last week. I don't know if we missed it.
It was Friday.
Verlander and Turner were just today deals for them. So hot stove is heating up. Trey Turner's deal takes him through his his age 40 season. Whew.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Not for the Phillies. The first thing that goes is speed, and that's kind of what he does.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be fine. He can still hit when he's 40, I'm sure.
Thoughts? Anything other than that?
I mean, it's chaos. I was texting my good buddy Kevin, that's a Mets fan, and well, I was texting him Friday. He was a little somber after the DeGrom thing. Was very much a Jacob DeGrom fan, as I'm sure most Mets fans were, and really probably most baseball fans were. But mood has improved drastically in Mets land.
Replace a Cy Young
After
winner with a Cy
well,
Young.
okay, I don't know that I would say drastically, because the one they replaced DeGrom with is significantly older, but he still just won a Cy Young award. So, yeah, I mean, the Mets will be fine. The Trey Turner thing, the Phillies doesn't surprise me. I think that's was kind of inevitable. The 11 years, that's a lot. But I mean, it is what it is. They got the AAV down to about 27, I think.
Yeah.
So that gives them a little more wiggle room to add somebody else if necessary. I mean, this was already a team that made it pretty darn far. So now they have a true shortstop, and they can move what's his name, Bryson Stott,
Stop.
to second base and ship out Gene Segura, and they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I think
They're
that's a
gonna be really
pretty
freaking good.
yeah, that's a pretty good team. I'm not concerned about the Cubs because I don't think Trey Turner was the highest on the Cubs list. But now there are three. If the Cubs are looking to add an impact bat, it's gonna have to be a shortstop, and there are only three of them left. And I'm not really sure that one of them is really an impact bat. So I have to see what happens. There's gonna be a lot of teams looking for shortstops now, including now, especially the Dodgers, who just lost theirs.
Yeah. Cardinals are
The Dodgers,
catcher
who
first priority.
the Dodgers, mind you, who have lost two big name shortstops in the last two seasons.
I think Carlos
So
Correa now goes to the Dodgers.
I think that probably makes the most sense, as much
Yeah.
as it disheartens me to say, because he's obviously the one that everybody wants. But yeah, I think that's probably happening, I would say.
Winter meetings are going on through Wednesday, I think.
Yes.
I think Wednesday's the last day, so the next couple days, expect a lot of moving and shaking. Maybe even after we get done recording tonight, we'll probably get some breaking news. Cardinals are making catcher a priority, as they should, before they move to anything else. It's down to basically either trading for a Sean Murphy, Danny Jansen, someone like that, or signing Wilson Contreras, seeing what the best option there is. Is it bad to say I don't have any faith that they'll make the right decision, and then it'll turn out to be a good decision? Because that's what always happens with the Cardinals. Like, they do something, and I'm like, what are you doing? And then it turns out to be an all-star. But football. Why
Hold
not
on.
say football? Go
Hold
ahead.
on. I did see one report yesterday, that the Cubs were supposedly had some level of interest in Matt Carpenter, and to
He's been
which
brought up with the
I
Cardinals
to which
to
I
bring back.
said, no.
Right.
I don't. I just you gotta
Retooled his swing, though, man.
do a real good job of convincing me to want Matt Carpenter at this point. Um, but that's neither here nor there. So
Yeah,
anyway,
he got
move on.
brought up with if a reunion with St. Louis was in the cards for him, because the
Yeah.
way he retooled his swing and the way he came on, and he didn't buy into analytics and launch angle and all that, and then when he did, he took off. So he's bought into it, and that's what I don't know. Like, don't sign me up for that, but we'll see. Soccer. It's called soccer, not football.
Football.
U.S.
Football.
advanced to the knockout stage, but were knocked out by Netherlands. Did you end up watching any? We hadn't talked about World Cup
Yeah.
much yet.
I mean, I watched as much as I could the first few games that were during the week. I watched all of the game on Saturday. Um, I mean, I would say it's disheartening. It's just I don't think they're quite there yet. I just don't think the level of that sport in this country is just quite where they want it to be. Um, I think they should make it their number one priority to figure things out in the next 4 years. But it's fun to watch, just because there's a lot. You can just tell there's just a lot of enthusiasm, especially with a lot of people like me who don't really watch much of it.
Yeah.
but really get into it at this point. It is fun, and it was disheartening to see them kind of, I don't want to say fall apart in that game, but they were just never really in it.
Yeah. So I've had this thought for a while, and we don't talk a lot of soccer on here, so I've never said it on here. I tweeted it Saturday, I think right before the game ended or at halftime. So USA won the Gold Cup, I believe, 2 years ago, maybe last year, and England was advancing deep into the Euros. And I had a thought: 2026 USA England final. So in my head, this World Cup was always going to be a gauge as to if that could happen in 2026. If
You're saying that will be the World Cup final.
That was my prediction. Was England USA World Cup final 2026 on US soil, in Dallas. I was like, I can see it. This is a young core. I think Pulisic will be the oldest maybe player at 27 or 28, so they'll still be young in 2026. So the way I looked at this year was advance out of the group stage and compete with a top tier country and try to advance to the quarters or whatnot. I never thought that they would ever make like a final or a semifinal or anything.
Yeah.
From what I saw Saturday, there's a lot to work on. Yeah. Because USA, I keep wanting to say Illinois. I do this all the time. USA controlled the ball. I mean,
yes, they did.
USA had the ball for more time than Netherlands did.
Correct.
But Netherlands scored 3 goals. They were efficient. They were doing whatever they wanted. And as soon as they got the lead, they pulled back. At times, they had all 10 on the U.S. side of the field. They controlled the game without having the ball. And USA can't do that. So I don't want to say, I will say, my expectations are tempered at the moment. I don't think USA will compete for a World Cup in 4 years like I thought they might. But I do still like the future. I think they have a ton of stars that can develop into very good players. But to get to the next level, you got to have an Mbappe, you got to have a Neymar, you got to have a Messi, Ronaldo that can impact games themselves. And I don't know that they have that yet. They have a good collective team, but they don't have the star power that you need in soccer to win a World Cup. So that's my soccer soapbox here. One good soccer minute, as Paul Paps would say. But I enjoy it. I like international international soccer better than club soccer almost, just because it pulls a whole country together and you see the scenes in Qatar and all that. But that's where I'm at. It was fun to watch. I think that we're improving as a country, but until we get those star power players that just take over games, I don't think we'll be a top 5 or 10 country until that happens.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you have a pick to win it?
No, not really. I haven't really watched a ton of it outside of the US play. Who'd be yours?
I got an England-Brazil final with Brazil winning. That's what I had in my bracket before the whole thing kicked off. I really like England. I know they're up and down, but they have a ton. Maybe it's because I watch so much Premier League and I know all the players, but they have a ton of guys that I think are very, very good. So we'll see. That's we still got, I think, a week left. I think the final's on like the 14th or something like that, 16th, something like that. I will be honest, I have fallen behind on all of my shows. Everything we watch, we have fallen so far behind because of the Thanksgiving travel and everything else going on that I don't have a whole lot to talk about. But Logan went and caught up on some movies. So Logan, the floor is yours. What'd you go see? I don't even know what's out right now.
I did. There's a few that I've been trying to get to, and I meant to go see a few of them last weekend, and I wasn't able to. So I was at the theater. I saw 3 different movies at the Cineplex this weekend. So
Phantom of the Megaplex.
Phantom of the Megaplex. No, the first one I saw was Violent Night, the David Harbour Santa Claus movie.
Yeah,
which is like Die Hard mixed with Home Alone, mixed with a little Bad Santa. Um, it was fine. I mean, it was just a fun little action flick around Christmas. Um, it didn't really win me over, but it was fine. I didn't really love the backstory they gave Santa. I thought that was kind of weird, but that's neither here nor there. The second one I saw was The Menu, which is Rafe Fiennes and Anya Taylor-Joy and a few others. It's about uh, a, a a chef who runs a restaurant on some remote island that he brings guests to, and it turns into some. It's a dark comedy, black comedy. It's got some murder. It's a thriller of sorts. It's just kind of strange. It's gotten a lot of praise. I enjoyed it. I don't think it was quite as great as I was expecting it to be based on the praise I saw, but it was pretty good. And then the third movie I saw was Strange World, which are you familiar with Strange World?
I don't think so.
Which proves my point. Strange World is the newest Disney animated movie
Oh,
that they have spent all of $7 to market, and nobody has seen this movie. It's not very good. It should have gone straight to Disney Plus. I don't totally understand what they're doing. This movie should have gone straight to Disney Plus, while movies like Hocus Pocus 2 probably should have gone to theaters. It was fine. It was just kind of okay. But yeah, so 3 movies this weekend. I saw The Fablemans last weekend, so getting into the heavy season of all the awards movies and things. So, but yeah, that was this weekend. I'm slowly trying to start Andor, which is the big Star Wars show that's been on Disney Plus. That's been gotten a lot of praise. It's just this is a very busy time of the year for me, not only with the traveling, but with
yeah.
there's basketball on TV twice a week, and there's football on Saturdays and football on Sundays, and there's all these movies coming out. So like TV shows, unfortunately for me, just kind of take a back seat. And so I've been very slow to get to Andor, and I'm finally starting to get to it. I watched the first episode this weekend, so hopefully I can knock out more of that because it's supposed to be really good. The first episode was good, so um, yeah, it's just a busy time of year for me because I have a lot that I'm trying to accomplish.
I have three
You
things for you.
counting?
I have three
Okay,
things for you.
okay,
One, speaking of TV shows, National Treasure TV show comes out.
yeah, yes, I'm aware. I'm aware that it exists.
Okay.
Love the first National Treasure. The second one was unnecessary, and I have zero expectations for this. But I have one other thing, but I'll wait to see what your things are because maybe one of
Okay.
this is one of them.
I'm literally just scrolling your Twitter to see what movies and stuff you have talked about that we haven't talked about on the
The
show.
Santa
So
Clauses.
no, no, no.
I
Two,
did tweet about
Knives
the Santa
Out. I don't
Clauses.
think we talked about Knives Out. Did you see it?
Craig,
Glass
I am
Onion?
so pissed. Are
Oh,
you
uh-oh.
are you just
Uh-oh.
stirring me up because you saw that?
No.
Or
Well, I mean, I see your
oh,
tweet that you had to
I
drive
am
100.
pissed because
Did you go?
listen, listen, Craig. Let me tell you this story. I'm glad that you're giving me this opportunity because I really want the people
What
at
the podcast is
Netflix
for?
Netflix need to see this. So Netflix, just to set the stage for this, Knives Out, if you're familiar, came out in 2019.
Mind you, I'm going to be looking. I'm listening to you, but I'm trying to find if there's anything else to bring up to you. So I am listening,
You
but go
need to
ahead.
hear what I have to say right
I'm
now.
listening, but I'm
Okay.
looking off camera here.
So Knives Out was the movie that came out in 2019. It was the Ryan Johnson, Daniel Craig murder mystery movie that was an absolute hit. It just killed at the box office, got Oscar nominations, was probably the 10th best picture nominee, but they cut the list at 9. So like many people, like it should have been probably a best picture nominee. So it had a movie. It came out in 2019, was a huge hit. Netflix then bought the rights and were going to make at least two more movies, and they were just going to go to Netflix. So this is supposed to be a Netflix release. It has a scheduled release on Netflix for December 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
I, amongst others, have been saying Netflix, you need to put this movie into theaters. People need to go see this in the theaters. Why not make your money for a couple weeks in the theaters? So what do? They release this movie into theaters. Okay, great. I'm happy. 1 week, should be more, but 1 week in the theaters, that's fine. More than enough time. This movie comes out for 1 week at Thanksgiving, mind you, where people are already traveling, spending their time traveling. Craig, the closest theater to my house that this movie played in would take me. It be 150-mile round trip for me to see Knives Out to Glass Onion or whatever it's called, Glass Onion and Knives Out Murder Mystery. 150 miles that I would have to drive round trip to see this movie. There are 2 theaters in the town that I live in. There's a theater several miles north of me that would be much closer. There's theaters to the east of me, theaters to the west of me. So to answer your question, no, I have not seen Knives Out 2 because I didn't want to drive 150 miles round trip to see this movie when it's going to be on Netflix in a month. And I'm not very happy about it.
Wow.
I think it's dumb. If you're going to release it in the theaters, do more than 600 screens. 600 screens or something. Like, what are we doing?
We found the line Logan will not cross to go to a movie. It's 150 miles.
I have driven distances. So there's the closest IMAX to me. I have driven a little bit of a distance to go to that. There's one in Fort Wayne and there's one in Maryville or whatever, Portage, which are both about 40 to an hour away from me. And I've gone to both of those to see an IMAX movie, but it's just that the week that it came out, right around Thanksgiving, I was already it was just dumb. I'm so mad. Like, so no, I haven't seen it. I'm gonna have to wait until freaking December 23rd. And of course I'm going to be, at my parents' house and they don't have great internet. Sorry, Tim. Now I hate when I bitch about your internet on my show, but so, it'll be like December 27th.
I'm sure he doesn't love it when I pile on too.
Whatever. That's my rant. Screw you.
3 here. Number 3. Bob Iger.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the Iger thing.
No.
A lot happened. So the week that you were gone, there was 2 other things that I had on the rundown that I was going to talk about, but we didn't really have a lot of time. One of them was the Iger situation, which I'll talk about here in a second. The other one was the passing of Jason David Frank, who from the original Green Ranger, big Power Ranger guy here. So that was kind of tough. The Iger situation, holy smokes, man. Disney has been kind of in the plummeting for a lot of reasons. And Bob Chapek was just, he was just not the right choice. And I think Iger knew that. And I think that he regretted his decision to make him his successor. And when the board said, we've had enough, I think he was very quick to come back in. I don't know what sort of things he's going to do. I don't know. I don't really foresee him coming in to make some sort of big, huge, splashy move, like to buy something or to sell the company, which I saw that rumor circulating. But I just think Disney just needs somebody to come in and right the ship a little bit. I don't think Chapek wasn't the guy. So that was a weird news drop on a Sunday night. But I, like many Disney fans, are happy with it. But I don't really know what it means. I just know that Bob Chapek wasn't the guy to run that company. So,
all right,
yeah,
fair enough.
There we go.
Anything else?
No, freaking Knives Out. I'm so pissed.
That movie's cast is.
Yeah,
I have high expectations for it, and I've
heard it. I've heard it's great.
I'm really worried it's going to disappoint, but
I've heard it's great. So I'm not. I have very high expectations, and we'll just have to see. But I'm so mad.
Well, thanks for joining us.
150 miles.
Oh, we've got a new inside joke for Logan. 150 miles. Thanks for joining us. Like and subscribe if you're still here. Thanks for listening. That's Logan. I'm Craig. I believe we'll be back tomorrow with a post-game show, so be on the lookout for that. Should be a good game, Illinois and Texas. So be sure and tune in for both the game and our post-game show. Once again, thanks for listening. Episode 82. No one asked us. We'll if not tomorrow, we'll see you again next week. Bye.
20 days till Christmas.